Tonight. Remember? Yes. Wow. You guys are just have a sweater. Wow.
Yes, of course, How your reaction wise?
It's been very good.
Yes.
Yes. Nice. Thank you so much for everything for doing that. Does it make any sense?
Nice. Yes, why not?
Come on, let's do this real quick.
Are we ready?
It's on.
AC, take it back. AC,
take it back.
AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. 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 AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. AC, take it back. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. Take it back. Action. AC, take it back. AC, take it back.
So much. Thank you, please. Have your seat, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So before we sing, we are going to do the national anthem, the Nigerian national anthem, and we all stand up, and then the American national anthem as well. I'm looking for volunteers to sing the American national anthem. I'm serious. YouTube it, no, Dr. Shalako, we have to sing it. If we sing Nigeria, we have to sing American. So let's start with Nigeria, right? You guys still know how to sing your Nigeria? Because if not, we have a big issue already.
He's going to volunteer.
Oh, you are going to volunteer?
Yes. Nigerian national anthem.
No, we know how to sing Nigeria. We need America. Okay, on the count of 3. Arise, O compatriot, Nigeria's call obey, to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. One nation of our heroes' heart shall never be in vain. To serve with all our might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. That was awesome. You guys still remember?
Am I going to get that video?
Cool.
Am I going to get that video?
Let's try that.
Live. Okay. Good. So
Oh, you see that was so proudly who commit now?
Should have taken a volunteer.
Give proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please, you may have your seat. At this time, I would like to introduce Mrs. Veronica Omoyele. She's going to introduce the Take Back team. Take it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so happy to have our president. Oh my God, who's going to the inauguration? Raise your hand. We're going to chatter is playing and we're going to go shake it up and it'll be. So when I heard Sahara reporters, I knew I wasn't going to look back. That's how I knew about our president, Omoyele Sowore. I heard, oh, the guy that, I'm like, I always follow that news. I'm going with him. Because if that person takes over, that we are in good hands. And the people that did work on this, and everybody did that's here, thank you. But the key people are Dakpo Dulami. Let's put our hands together for Dakpo. And the man himself, who has two sides, he smiles but don't mess with him, Deji. And I'm grateful to all of your spouses, because when we do all those things, we potluck and cook and your wife's cook and we make it happen. And it's low-key, low budget, and that's the future of Nigeria. We make it happen. And all of us want to come and make sure it happens. It's not about, we're going to make Nigeria one of the most desirable places on earth. All of our children are going to
So I don't know if everybody has the meeting outlined for today. So the reason we are here is to talk about the current state and the future state of Nigeria, right? This town hall meeting is titled to find out what the current state is and also to get information about what the future is going to look like. So we're going to have a video clip, but because of time, we are skipping that because we value your time. So at this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Joshua Adeoye. Joshua is the public health dentist in Kano State. He is the unofficial chief of staff for the Take It Back movement. So please give him a round of applause.
If it is unofficial, then what is my official title? So 4 or 5 years ago, I was a diaspora too. And as I was finishing graduate school at Harvard, I was trying to decide, do I stay and chase these dollars and then go back and help Nigeria? Because that's what I believe I was born for. Or do I go back immediately? Omoyele Sowore helped me answer that question. Unfortunately for me, the answer was not clear as at that particular point in time. But in March this year, when he called me and rocked my world and said, look, let's disrupt the political space in Nigeria, I now realized why I had come to grad school in the US and why I had gone back immediately to go and, in quotes, prepare the ground to follow him around. Now, a lot has been said about capacity, competence, and character in this election, especially because we were so done in 2015 about integrity, equating all of these three things. And over the last 6 to 7 months, I've realized the difference between this notion of integrity and actual capacity, competence, and character. Traveling on the road, the town hall meetings that we've had, it's like the Olympics, the energy that it takes. And even those of us who are a decade younger than him, you know, the previous day there's this huge, intense need for energy. And then by 4 o'clock he's awake and it's as if he didn't do anything the previous day. By 7 o'clock he's ready, the rest of us, we are running after him. He's like a hurricane. Yes. I don't know where he gets the energy from. Although now when I came to California and I heard that the microdose here, I'm wondering whether, yes, that's where he comes from. I've also been with him when people are trying to make insinuations towards, look, let's join the establishment. Let's first win this thing, and then you can do with it whatever it is that you want. And there, his character has shown. Also, the town hall meetings have shown his competence. It's obvious why prior, politicians just do 4 or 5 rallies in 4 or 5 different zones, maybe including Abuja, and then go home. They don't answer any questions. This is because when you are standing face to face with Nigerians and they are asking you questions straight from the heart, if you don't have the intelligence, if you do not have the competence to handle those issues, it will show. You cannot hide it. So they prefer the facade of, you know, mobilize 10,000 people who do not know you from Adam, come collect something and just go back home. So the town halls that we've done, you know, back to back, state to state, zone to zone, local government to local government, is putting yourself out there. Imagine if he was asked a question on live stream and he fumbled at that question. But I'm proud to say that in 7 months, there's not one question that he has fumbled at. So please, put your hands together as I invite the most competent
Cybobo.
Yes, leader that I think that Nigeria would have had since inception. The requisite capacity and the character to take Nigeria to the future. Omoyele Sowore.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. seat, have a seat. Wow. You know, we came here, I think we arrived here about 2 days ago. This is our used to be our third night here in California. And I can tell you, every moment we've spent here, things have just only got better. And we came in from Nigeria, and probably you've heard the story. We came in directly from one of the most controversial, most dangerous expedition of campaigning that we've ever done. We were trapped inside the palace of the Omoyele. Yes, tear gas. It's never happened before in the history of politics that anybody was tear gassed in the Omoyele, inside the palace of it. And we were beaten up as well, physically, yes, assaulted. And it was, for me, the intersection of what used to be the old and the reason why Nigeria must break free permanently. But that is not how our campaign actually started. Our campaign also started on a controversial note. And I will explain to you how. It wasn't the decision to run that started the campaign in the consciousness of Nigeria. It started when I was invited to a radio station in Ibadan. Yes, and there was this minister with big regalia. We call it Agbada in Nigeria. Agbada is like matter. It occupies space. You know. And he's sitting there across from me, and I was brought before him. Actually, I was told later that he was the one that ordered that I be brought before him. And the reason was that he had been looking for me because I wrote a story regarding corruption. And he said to the people who said, oh, Sowore, today is the day I'll teach him a lesson. So I walked into the studio. He sat me down across from him, of course, you know, big man. And he started, you know, I don't know if I provoked him. I said, you know, Honorable Minister, it's good to see you. You are the Minister of the outgoing regime. It was as if I pressed the button of the atomic bomb. The guy went up, and he's just like, who are you? Where do you come from? Was, you know, he just kept going off. And the responses, the calmness with which I responded to him and schooled him gave us what you refer to in the education sector as teachable moments. Yes. And a lot of people just said, wow, probably this is a transition from the analog era to the digital era. Yes. And ever since then, we couldn't cope with demand for either town hall meetings, radio, TV interviews. Because before we left the studio, the whole country had gotten the message that something seismic had happened to Nigeria. But it's just that I was reminded before we came here that it's just not enough for something seismic to happen. Something greater has to happen than seismic. Or after a hurricane, there has to be some kind of cleanup. And I think that was what the experience at Ife taught us. As soon as the experience at Ife came, you know, and I'm just taking you through my world, you know, we had to recalibrate. We had to recalibrate to understand that the principalities and the forces that are holding Nigeria to ransom are not just going to watch you come and take the space and just let you be walking around. Because the next day, and this is for me also like an epiphany, we had to be in Badagry in Lagos State. And when we got to Badagry, where did we go? We went to, you know, the Museum of Slavery, and found out something I didn't even know before, that our traditional rulers in Yoruba land, working with white people, sold over 400 years, 43 million people into slavery. Yes, that's what happened. 43 million people. 43 million people is way more than a lot of countries today. And that is not just 43 million people sold all over the world. It was 43 million people from Badagry slave ports alone. So if you count Calabar, you go to Ghana and all other slave ports, probably 100 million people were sold into slavery. Almost principally by a collaboration or connivance between traditional rulers and white people. They were selling an average of 300 people per day. There were no weekends, no holidays, no Halloween, no Christmas. They were just selling on a daily basis. And when you look at it, you say to yourself, but has slavery ended? Not so. Because what we used to have is that people were used to be forced out of their land and sold into slavery, and they came here. But now we're in a state of indentured servitude. We are voluntarily selling ourselves into slavery. And the rest of people who couldn't get out into this voluntary slavery are trapped within the slave-like system. And that was what the system wanted me to appreciate that day at the palace, that, regardless of who you are still a slave. Come and bow to us. And if you don't bow to us, what I call prostrate or die, we'll show to you that we'll kill you. And I said to myself, look, it has to take one person to change the mindset of a lot of our people. Even though there was outrage, what I call outrage against courage, a lot of people eventually came down and started questioning, but must he prostrate for another person? If he refuses to prostrate, should he die? That was the question. So that takes us to Nigeria as a whole. The powers that be, the old political cabal in the system, they are not alone. They exist in different sections or sectors of our society. There is a political cabal. They have political parties. There are religious cabals. They work with the political cabals. There are traditional cabals. They also work with the religious and the political cabals. Then there's the economic cabal that is financing all of them. And these things are deliberately part of a system that is enslaving our people. 43 million of them over 400 years. Now we are at 198 million slaves, practically, in Nigeria, held against our will by these four cabals that I've mentioned to you. And all of you probably have had encounters with them. But when they want to describe your condition to you, they will redefine it to tell you that, well, some of it is spiritual, traditional, cultural. It's a lie. At the end of the day, they are holding your destiny to ransom. And when you break free from that ransom, somehow you are held back to it, because how do you wake up in America and you have your brothers and sisters who can feed? You have to think about them. You have to send them Western Union, right? You know the deal now when they start sending you, prayers from Nigeria by WhatsApp. Prayers. When you don't answer them with Western Union, you start getting proverbs. It is the way the country has been held to ransom. But ask yourself, is there anybody here who didn't come here hoping to spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks in America, and your 2 weeks became 40 years? Mine is 19 now. I had no intention of staying more than 2 weeks. In fact, I came with 2 pair of pants and a shirt, because I didn't plan to stay for long. Next year, it will be 20 years, and I said to myself, I'm going to start heading back home. But not just heading back home, I want to go back home with others with great ideas and help liberate our fatherland or motherland, whichever way you want to describe it. And we've been doing it now. No matter what they tell you, Nigerians want to be free. Nigerians want to be free. And it didn't matter where they are located, Nigerians are united in their desire to be free. But for so long, they have been lied to, abused, and bastardized that they are finding it difficult to trust anybody. That's what we confronted with Nigerians. You know, they'll tell you, look, they have told us this before. They told us this in 1979. 83, they told us during Abiola's time. They told us Obasanjo too that he has learned his lesson in prison. You know, after that, they told us when Yaradua was coming that you can run the country with one kidney. You know, and then they told us under Jonathan that if you have a PhD, everything will be all right. They told us under Buhari that if you have integrity, it will put food on the table. So what have you got to bring for us and to us? And when we stepped on the stage, they challenged us. The system challenged. People were asking questions. You know, and one of the biggest questions they asked us was experience. They said, what's your experience? What have you done before? Like the minister told me, go and start from the local government. You know, because there's a natural order and progression before you can become president. You know, and I kept asking myself, what is the meaning of experience within the Nigerian political context? Experience to them is somebody who has stolen enough. That's an experienced politician. Experience is that politician who has killed too many people and such that everybody's afraid of him. That's an experienced politician. An experienced politician is a person who doesn't even know his left from his right, but who had the biggest rally because they can throw money at people. An experienced politician is a politician who can manipulate the whole process so that himself, his wife, children are the only political representatives of his people. They will even tell you in Nigeria that, you say you know politics. Can't you see Saraki? They have been controlling the people of Kwara for a long time. If they are not experienced, how is it that people of Kwara, they always go in front of their houses to die every year? That is the kind of experience we are talking about. But that is not experience, it is the mental conditioning of slavery. You know, people have been conditioned to not believe that there's anything else possible. And you look at it, the generation after you here, they have never seen anything good before in their lives. Some of us, we went to the University of Lagos, we met water running in our hostels. You cannot find a university in Nigeria today where there's water if it's not a private university. Yes, we just came from the University of Ife before we went to the palace. The toilets of the hostel, the Awo hostel, anybody here from OAU, Ife? Yes. The hall is known as Awo Hall. The toilet is not as good as the toilets of pigs. Yes, I mean, piggeries have better toilets. US piggeries have better toilets than us. And you look at them and say, how do students graduate like this and you expect them to behave like normal human beings? There is no water, no drop of water falling out of their shower. Meanwhile, we were in our friend's neighborhood, Deji, who was introduced earlier, and we were, you know, walking around and wanted to exercise. I went to an elementary school. The sporting center of the elementary school in his neighborhood is better than that of the University of Lagos. Right? This is how much the mental conditioning have been. So it takes a lot more work to conscientize a person who has never seen anything good before, like a child that grew up and has never seen electricity before. How do you describe that? You can have, you know, constant electricity to him and they'll believe you. Because he's never seen it constant before. Nigeria is such a place that if people have light, as we call it, and it's lasting more than 4 hours, they start wondering what happened to the electricity company. It's true. Yes. And you look at it even with religion, the prayer points of people in Nigeria are different from the ones who have traveled here. Have you not noticed this for those of you who go to church? Because you go to Nigeria, you hear very weird things in church. Somebody praying that God should provide transformer in their area, you know. But your prayer point is, how do I pay my bills? Here, my electricity bills, because you don't even know where the transformer is located here. You know, I don't know where the transformer is located in my area. I've not seen a transformer physically before. But Nigerians, they worship transformer. They are passing the place like this. Oh Lord, come on, no Lord. Make this transformer no blow. Or somebody will go and give testimony in church that their transformer has not tripped in 6 months. And it's a testimony. This things might sound funny to you, but it's the reality of life in Nigeria. So, having said all that, what is the solution? The solution is, in some cases, very simple. You know, when Nigerian leaders want to press the panic button inside of you, they will tell you that Nigeria is complex and huge. That this is a very big, complex country. You know what I did? I traveled in Nigeria within 6 months. We traveled with no private jet. Yes, we traveled, and by the time we came back here from Osun, Ile-Ife, we had done 29 states. Yes. Nigeria is not big at all. The problem is that the road networks are pretty bad. Nigeria is just twice the size of California. So that I can just make you lighten the day for you with live stream wherever we go. And today we were driving from Tracy to UC Berkeley, and we just focused our camera on the roads, and most of the commentators was just like, see road, my God, see road. You know, things that you take for granted over here, you know. Yes, you don't think about it because, you know, most of you are already driving partially driverless cars, right? Where the road is so open, you just leave the steering to do the driving. You dare not leave your car like that in Nigeria. It will just fall into a dish and that's it, right there. We spent, on one occasion that we were supposed to go from Lagos to Ekiti for a rally, we spent 6 hours within the space of 2 kilometers on the Lagos-Ibadan expressway. You know, this day it wasn't even church. You know, it was a different situation. That just one tanker broke down, and in the whole of that area they couldn't find the machine that could take it out of the way. 6 hours, we didn't eventually make it to Ekiti that day. So I'm coming back to telling you what is complex about fixing Lagos-Ibadan expressway. Do you guys know how long it is? It's just about, I think, 140 kilometers or thereabouts. But they have been at it just to fix it. It's not a brand new road for 20 years. Every government that has come has allocated funds to that road. It's never completed. In fact, a friend of mine was telling me that, you know, Nigeria is a ridiculous place. Sowore, you know, there are some of these things that is spiritual. There are forces that have made it impossible to me passing that road. That me, I don't pass that road again. I go through Abeokuta. I said, but the forces are going to kill you because the Lagos-Ibadan expressway, Abeokuta is even worse. Yes. At this point in the history of Nigeria, we should have had at least nothing less than 5 expressways out of Lagos. There should have been a high-speed train from Lagos to Port Harcourt, from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri and back to Lagos, you know, because why? The allocations have been made over the years for these monies to have been spent in the interest of roads, networks, for electricity to be working almost perfectly, because the same amount of money that Nigeria is earning and wasting away and stealing is the same amount of money that countries like Saudi Arabia earn to develop their own society. Yeah. Countries like Angola that just, you know, had 20 years of war. If you go back there today, you can't believe. Same oil money. Like, even the USA, right? There's a town called San Ramon here, right? It is money from Nigeria that they're using building the place. Chevron is the one that took money from Niger Delta. If you go to San Ramon, they measure air quality in that city. No, I'm telling you. You know how they point to their refinery? Somebody said, don't talk politics here. You know, I talk international politics. I'm not afraid. The refineries are oozing, you know, the fumes in the direction of Oakland. the clean air is in the direction of San Ramon. But the most important thing is to understand that whatever you found in that area, probably 60 to 7% of it is from a profit made from Nigeria. Yes. It's the same thing with Amsterdam. You know, Shell money is what was used to develop all this area. And it's a joint venture. Nigeria takes its own, and they take their own. They use their own to develop their own country. Nigeria takes Nigeria's money and go and develop their own country too. If you go to Dubai, most properties are owned by Nigerians there, right? And you ask yourself, because one of the questions you get asked all the time is, don't our leaders see how things are working in another part of the country? No, the truth is that you don't have leaders. You have to have leaders before they can have vision, right? So if you're asking yourself, don't our leaders see, you're assuming that they took eyes to those places to see things. No, these guys don't give, a damn about you. They don't have vision, they have no mission, they don't have character, they have no capacity, they have no competence. The answers are there for you to see in Nigeria that is broken and broke. The answers are there for those of you who travel to Nigeria from time to time at the airport as you are landing. You are asking yourself, my goodness, is there nobody here to sweep the airport or to change the bulbs or for somebody to be able to maintain 5 toilets at the international airport of a country? No money to do it. The only thing that is working as you're arriving is the customs say, what did you bring for me? Immigration say, what do you have for me? One was even asking me one day, he said, look, put the money under the passport. I said, which money?
I know.
Now they realize that I live stream them. When I'm coming, nobody wants to talk to me. Please, go. Yes, because these days I take a live stream to the airport. As I'm arriving, I turn on my phone, it's live streaming. So anything you do, tell them, please, everything you are doing is live, just so that you don't say that I didn't warn you in advance. So we need to change that culture. It is not our culture to suffer. It's not anybody's culture to suffer anywhere in the world. The culture of suffering is foisted on people sometimes who are complacent, who don't do anything about their condition. And I have done, in terms of experience, 29 years of fighting consistently to have this country work for the people of Nigeria. That is what drove me when I was in my, when I was 19-year-old to join protests against military rule. I was part of the young people in Nigeria who fought against military rule. I was part of the young people in Nigeria who got expelled from the university twice. At the University of Lagos in 1994, I was physically attacked and injected with an unknown chemical substance because I refused to join cult groups on campus. The reason was that I realized that it's the same people whose parents are destroying Nigeria. Their children are the cult members. And as we were fighting their parents, we had to fight their kids on campus as well. I was almost killed for it. And when I left Nigeria, I started Sahara Reporters because I knew that without information, you can't fight these people. And over the years, I used that platform to fight as many of them as I could, but I realized that the more you fight them, the more they become caked in their ways. Because there are not many of them who get consequences for their actions or inactions. Some of the things they do in Nigeria, if a county executive do that here, they go to jail. I saw a governor who went to jail for misappropriating $5,000. I think it was Pennsylvania, because he used $5,000 diverted from his office to repair his house. Nigerian politicians are laughing. Say, what kind of stupid law is that? 5,000? That one is not even enough for them to use to carry Uber for their girlfriends. Nobody, and we don't have a system that's working for the people. So 29 years later, I said to myself, I cannot stand aside and be watching how things are going wrong, and I'm comfortable with just writing reports or monitoring elections. And in fact, what I said to myself finally is that I'm not going to be the one reporting the next election result. I will claim that it's free and fair when I know the election is not going to guarantee freedom or fairness to the Nigerian people. And we're at that point where we cannot say that we even have options to vote for. How do you wake up in 2019 and the only two options you have is between Atiku and Buhari? Right? Some people said, well, it is their turn. I said, no. Because the 4 years that they're about to take from us is the same amount of time people used to obtain degrees that change their life forever. So are we just going to give up that 4 years again to another set of clueless, wicked, corrupt leaders? We know them. We know their pedigrees. We know their antecedents. When we have a bunch of very young people that I saw today at UC Berkeley, one of the guys, young guy, so what, you know, when we were introducing, he said he's a nuclear physicist. Young guy. You know, and I asked him, like, do you have any plans to go to Nigeria? Of course, you know, said, no, not anytime soon.
You will go if you win.
But when I finished talking to them, all of them followed us around and said they will go to Nigeria if you win the election. Because we could connect with them. They could see. They made that promise because we were able to interact, engage, and they could connect, and they could see that collectively we have a future. And a future that would create one of the best countries in the world. And I will tell you that we'll win the election next year. Amen. If we don't win that election, the reason why all of you are sitting here tonight and you were not coerced or bribed to come to this event. In Nigeria, if you had this many people in a room listening to a politician, just know that their pockets are stuffed with enough money. Yes. And you'll just be hearing people asking questions that are not relevant to the politicians, you know, because all of it is orchestrated to make it look real, whereas they're really, really very, very fake and fickle. So, what do we have for you? I'm not here to preach that I will construct roads. Even though we want to do 200,000 kilometers of roads that we know are possible. I'm not here to preach to you that I want to secure Nigeria, even though I know that the most important thing right now to even attract you back home is security. No one of you is going back to Nigeria if you don't know if you can make it from the airport to your next destination. It's not a laughing matter. I'm not here to preach to you that, you know, we're going to provide electricity, even though I understand that 7,000 megawatts of electricity is not enough to run the San Francisco train metro system. Yeah, we need starting point 24,000 megawatts. And you guys drive around here, don't you start to see right here in Northern California how even every bus stop has become like a solar panel. And every house has a solar panel on top of it. And people here actually, you know, are sometimes incentivized to to sell electricity to the government or to companies here. That is the future. And that's what I went and told people at home. You know, when I went to Ibadan, I said we can finish Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in months. They said it's not possible. And when I started breaking it down to them that you can actually do at least 8 to 10 kilometers of that road per night, I was like, oh, how come nobody ever told us that that is possible? Because that is how it is done elsewhere. You know, if you have 120 kilometers, so if you do 8 or 10 kilometers per night, because I have been on highways in the US before that I was passing the place in the morning. By the time I came back the next day, it was completely done. You know, said, oh, so that is possible. And people started listening to us. When we said to them, you know, the minimum wage you have here is trash. You know, because it's minimum wage in Nigeria right now is 15,000 naira. It's not up to even $100. They said we start with a living wage of 100,000, which is $285 per month. I said that's even too little, because when I first started working in New York, and when I arrived here, my minimum wage, my first hour, can buy me a bagel, yes, buy me tea, and get me the Metro card. Everything, by the time I'm done for the first hour, I've only spent $4. That means after the first hour, I've saved $3. So if I work for 8 hours, My minimum wage has taken care of my food for that day, and I have savings. But in Nigeria, the minimum wage is what Yoruba people call salary. That is, go and see it, because it will never take you home. And when we said the idea, they said, it's not possible, it will cause inflation. A few months later, the federal government was forced to be negotiating with the Nigeria Labour Congress to increase the minimum wage. And I said, how come this one is not going to cause inflation? Because why? The elites have a way of taking care of this. And I wish that in Nigeria we can force everybody to be on the minimum wage, including our senators. You see how the minimum wage will be jacked to not even 100,000 but 500,000 per person. Because an average senator take home per month is equivalent to the minimum wage of 720 workers in Nigeria. The allowance is 13.5 million, 13.7 million naira per month, just the allowance. Then they have the salary of about $1 million, and then they have oversight visit, they have all kinds, they have wardrobe allowance, they have spitting allowance, toothbrush allowance. These guys are taking care of themselves, but they are jacking the people around. And I said, look, what we need is a redistribution of that wealth so that it will percolate to the regular people. That's how they do it elsewhere, right? So infrastructure, like I mentioned, how great will it be for you to drive from Lagos to Abuja the same way we have what is 101 we have here? Yes. And there's also an I-95, by the way, that can come from the northeast. Is it? There's an I-5 here, but there's a highway that links the northeast to the west. It's called I-80. I know there's one that's 95 too. Yes. Yes. So you have all these interstate highways, you have county highways. It's not difficult to do. But somebody will say to you that because you didn't vote for us last month, we are not having roads in your area for our tenure. No, it's true. It's part of acceptable policy not to take care of people who didn't vote for you. Buhari opened his mouth and said that the people that the 5% vote he got in the southeast and south is such that he will not take care of them until he has taken care of the 95% that voted for him, which is based in the northwest and the northeast and probably the southwest. And now he has completely abandoned 100% of the people of Nigeria. So, what next? Education. Our education is so bastardized now that it's replaced by ignorance. And I say ignorance because if you get to a stage where in 2018 a PhD holder from Nigeria is telling you that you are wrong for not prostrating for a traditional ruler and that you should be beheaded, just know that the person has never been to school, but he might have entered a building labeled a school. Right? Our health system, majority of Nigerians are dying of hypertension. That all kinds, but that I think head disease. I mean, head disease is most pronounced around the place, but they don't know because a lot of people have never checked their blood pressure before. They only do it when they're about to die. Yes, there's a friend of ours in the house who is Pius. Pius is at the back there. Pius goes to Nigeria with the BP test machine. And he says when he checks his friend's BP, he on one occasion had to tell one of his friends, if you don't go to hospital, you're about to have stroke. But the guy is like, what's wrong with me? He says, your BP has shot through the roof. Because nobody is out there taking care of anybody. But we have a policy in our agenda, as part of our 10-point agenda, to find out 160,000 health workers. Even if it's just to carry the stethoscope and the BP machine first to go to every village, we have to do it right away. And to create a universal healthcare system in Nigeria where everybody is registered within the universal healthcare system, such that if you're a worker, you can have deduction. If you are not a worker, you can make a contribution to it. If a vulcanizer knows that he can see a doctor when he's sick, if you ask him to put in 2,000 naira into this healthcare system, he will pay instead of dying. Yes. Right? And it is possible in Nigeria. They have a national health insurance scheme, but it's slush fund for, for stealing, that's available for stealings. Just yesterday, a book was published in Nigeria on how President Olusegun Obasanjo spent $500 million for his failed third-term agenda. So selfishness. Can you imagine what $500 million would have done to the education system in Nigeria? They were carrying monies in ambulances and bullion vans just because the man wanted to continue as Robert Mugabe of Nigeria. And nobody has been punished for it. How about corruption in Nigeria? You don't even know where to start. Yes. It has become so endemic that it has become part of our acceptable culture to steal and be revered for stealing. I write a lot of stories on SR reporters on EFCC, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. And one day, an EFCC official told me that they arrested a man, and when they released him, he thanked him. He said, "Thank you for starting my political career. Now that you have arrested me, I'm going to declare for Senate. Because people didn't know that I have enough money until you arrested me. Now they are going to choose me as their next representative." And lo and behold, our Senate is made up of thieves.
Yeah.
Yes, right. The Senate president is one of the biggest thieves that Nigeria ever had. There's even a senator in Nigeria that is wanted in the US for drug running. What's that? Duruji Kasamu. Yeah. About whom even a soap opera is made in Nigeria. You don't. If I start mentioning their names, you will not believe it. This Nigerian Senate is a coven of thieves. It's a retirement home of thieves. If you don't believe me, imagine a Senator Joshua Dariye. He's in jail as we speak. Jail for corruption. And from inside jail, he obtained a form to run for Senate again. No, I'm not. This is the truth. He has obtained a form under the APC to run from prison and he might win. Because only thieves are elected into office in our country. What about our economy? If you ask yourself, what is Nigeria's economic system or what's Nigeria's political economy? There's nothing. Nobody can tell you exactly what it is. In fact, the only thing we know about our economy was the former Minister of Finance who forged an NYC certificate who just been forced to resign. And the only reason why she was forced to resign yesterday, I'll reveal to you, it's not conspiracy theory. It was because Buhari had just appointed one of his kinsmen again to run the DSS. And there was outrage, and they needed to look for something immediately to quell the outrage. So they pushed the woman out so that you can have something else to talk about in the meantime and forget the crime against humanity that they committed with the kind of tribalism and nepotism that Buhari is practicing in Nigeria of today. So, what is the most important discussion in Nigeria? Restructuring. Right? A lot of people have been saying restructuring. We also have plans to restructure Nigeria. And restructuring has different connotations to different people. Some people call it devolution of power. Some people call it regional government. And we had the conversation about it last night, where a brother said, we want to restructure Nigeria. We must, and I said, it's beautiful, I agree too. But who are you restructuring Nigeria for? And who are the people restructuring Nigeria? Is it the old people who are in the departure lounge of life that will restructure Nigeria for you, young people? When in their entire history, they have never restructured anything in the favor of anybody but themselves before. As the Yorubas have an adage that in English, it means that if somebody is going to give you some new sets of clothes, check the one he's wearing. So if somebody is asking to restructure Nigeria for you, check what he has done when he was in position of authority, if he has ever restructured anything good. I use the example of my state governor, Olusegun Mimiko, who was in power for 8 years. Anybody from Ondo State here? Stubborn people? You know? Yes. For once, the man did not allow local government elections to hold for 8 years. The day he left office, he joined the restructuring team across Nigeria. I said, restructure, restructure. When these people came and said, why didn't you restructure the local government? Why didn't you allow elections to hold? You would have been a perfect example for what you preach. But if you cannot allow local government elections to have, you cannot allow local governments to operate, you cannot convince me that you're interested in restructuring. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know I have not said anything here tonight that came from a group. I'm telling the story of Nigeria in front of you, and all of you are witnesses of one part or the other. You are witnesses to how Nigeria degenerated from a nation state to a failed state. Nigeria is only good these days for studies across universities in the world on how to describe a nation that failed, even though it had potential. But let me leave you with just one optimism. Yes, something to be optimistic about. Is that in our travels around Nigeria, in this exploration of what is possible in Nigeria, we found untapped territory. Nigeria is like, you can start a nation from every place we visited in Nigeria, brand new, and you'll be surprised how Nigeria will look even in 2 years. Because if you want to build brand new roads, there's a space for it. If you want to build dams, there are rivers that can fuel it. If you want to build solar energy, you have enough sunshine that can, power heaven, right? If you want to build schools, there are lands for it. And if you want to build people, there are 198 million people to be built. If you want to educate people, plenty of them to be educated. If you want to grow crops, plenty of opportunity to grow hectares of land. If you want to do tourism, there are mountains, valleys, and rivers better than the one you have in California. I tell you that. In Nigeria, they are all covered up by incompetence, mismanagement, and we can just go there, remove the cobwebs, clean up the country, and build the country anew. And I'll tell you that we can do it because I know that it's a simple thing to do. And there's nothing complex about building a nation when you have the resources to do it. But instead of doing it, you have been frittering away the resources and stealing it and mismanaging it because there are no consequences for doing it. So on this note, I was told that I can ask for your support. And I'll tell you something, the most difficult thing for me to do is asking for monetary support from our brothers and sisters, because in our own political life in Nigeria, we are not used to giving, we are used to taking. So to restart the culture of say, hey, you can contribute money to someone who can change the country, when before they used to contribute to you to destroy the country, it takes a lot of, mental, reworking of Nigerians. But you know what? You guys are already doing it already, right? You are the Social Security Department of Nigeria. You are the ones sponsoring all the weddings that are happening on Saturday through Western Union and World Remit. You are the ones that are there helping to send people's children to school. You are the ones that are even building boreholes, because without us, probably Nigeria would have failed completely. Right? So that's why we are coming to you, because we don't have godfathers. We only have godliness in our hearts to remake Nigeria and create a Nigeria where all of you can go back to. I want your next vacation to be planned for Nigeria. I want you to be able to take your children to Nigeria and say, hey, go to school here. I want to go back. And I'll come and get you next summer. And while you're here, learn Yoruba, learn Igbo, learn Hausa, or even learn the three of the languages, because just like the Chinese people were saying, learn how to speak Chinese, and some people ignored it. Now China has gotten to a point where it has become the leader of the world. And I believe that if we get it right in Nigeria, Nigeria is about to become the greatest nation on earth. Yes, I believe it. I believe it. Because as I love to describe Nigeria, in Africa, if you look at the map of Africa, it's like a pistol facing down. And if you look at Nigeria, it's like this, there's a trigger. And if Nigeria fires, Africa is about to kill. So, thank you so much for coming. And thank you so much, because you better start buying your tickets. You are coming to the inauguration next year. Take it back. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. We have, this is the opportunity to ask questions. So we are going to only take 3 people because...
No, I just came from far.
Okay, so... Okay, so do we have paper? We're going to get paper. Okay. So we'll get some paper for everybody. Everybody came here to be heard, right? So we are going to get to hear everybody. And so we'll just pass out some papers to you. Write down your questions. And then, no? Oh,
Let's not ask these questions together. Let's start with questions.
Okay.
You go with the video. We can ask the questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me go ahead.
Okay. Can you raise your hand, please?
What you're saying is that we can take 3 questions at a time
Number 2,
and answer.
number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10. So we have 10 people.
3 at a time.
3 at a time, okay? So number 1.
So do you need a pen?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. My name is Okay, all right.
You don't have it.
No, it's fine. Yeah. So thanks for... Yeah, thanks for making the time to my name is Abi Adioti. So I'm based here. Again, thanks for the time for coming here. I'll tell you a little bit about you and and I'm glad that you came. We do need a change, and we definitely, we've done a lot of disruptive technology. I think this could be the way to actually disrupt the political system in Nigeria. So my question is, you talk about the structuring. Yes. So the way it is right now is the central take the resources,
yes,
and they decide on who to give it to.
Yes.
So when you become the president, how would you change that? Because back in the 70s, when the regional body owned their own resources, you come to the middle,
yes,
things were a lot better there. Yes. What would you do differently when you become the president?
Second question. Yes.
Second, sister.
Thank you.
My name is Fumola Odunami. I am concerned for your safety.
Yes.
And how are you protecting yourself? And what checks and balances do you have in place to keep yourself safe from, you know what?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, what help do you want from people here besides financial help?
Thank you.
Number 3, please keep your question to the point. Number 3, you were number 3.
Yes.
My name is Gilly Omoyele. I want to ask in particular, how do you intend to change electricity?
Yes.
It is. And if Nigeria is probably just electricity,
We're all coming home.
we're all coming home.
Very true. Thank you. So I'll take 3 questions at a time so that I don't forget. And then, how do you decentralize ownership of resources? Right. There is the way Nigeria is supposed to be a federation, but right now by design or default, it has become a unitary system where the president is the most powerful person in the country and the federal government takes the largest chunk of resources. So it speaks to the need to devolve power. But you cannot devolve power in Nigeria without looking at one of Nigeria's biggest fundamental flaws. We have a fraudulent constitution. The Nigerian constitution was not made by Nigerian people for the Nigerian people. It was designed by the military. And the military just inserted, in fact, the Constitution of Nigeria, the 1989 Constitution, was a copy of the 1979 Constitution. Yes, with some, improvements here and there. Until we go back to a conversation around what should be our constitution and endorsing that constitution by way of referendum, we might be lying to ourselves by thinking that we can just fix a few nuggets here and there. And it is that can fundamentally address progress and ownership and distribution of resources and wealth. But I will say to you also, very importantly, that Nigeria needs to address the character of its leaders. The first restructuring that needs to happen is the character of Nigerian leadership. Otherwise, it is like buying a brand new car and putting a driver who has never trained how to drive before to drive the car. It's going to crash. There's no question about it. I said it earlier here somewhere today, and I counted in every region of Nigeria where you can find people who will destroy the region, even if Nigeria were to be regionalized. I started from the southwest. Tinubu will take over the southwest. If you go to the southeast, they have the Kurimadus there. If you go to the south-south, Wiki and Amechi there, they're there. If you go to the north-central, you find Saraki there. Go to the northwest, Kwakwanso, they're there. You go to the northeast, Atiku there, they're there. So, except something is done to break the stranglehold of these guys on Nigeria, you can have the finest conversation, you can have the best constitution. You are wasting your time if we don't elect leaders who are visionaries to take the country to the next level, right? Every other country in the world that has experienced progress, the same time Nigeria has progressed over the years, has experienced some kind of leadership change. And that is what we must be thinking about fundamentally right now. The resources we have enough to go around. But when you have greedy people, there can never be enough to go around. If you give all of Nigeria's budget to one of these guys I just mentioned to you, or even their children, it's not enough. Right? Second question about security. I am so concerned about my security that I'm no longer afraid. Yes. I will tell you that when I first started 6 months ago, everybody was afraid that I won't make it out of the airport. But I did. What has happened over the last 7 months, I'll tell you, was scary. Including what happened a few days before I came here. In fact, the day before I arrived here. Because the system has become very intolerant to any form of discussion about change. The way to describe it is that the Nigerian space, either geographical or political space as you want to call it, has reduced to the barest minimum of destruction that there's no space to do good. And when you have no space to do good, even the space to say good things is evaporating. Because everybody, everywhere has been colonized by what you like to describe as people. And yes, it's the truth. But what I decided to do is that somebody has to step up to the plate and make sacrifices. And I don't know if I will survive it or not, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried. And I have the belief. It would be great to have police protection, but sometimes in Nigeria it's better to have armed robbers protecting you than having police. So I decided I'm not going to apply for police protection. But in some cases, there are certain objective realities that you face that makes you think, well, maybe I need better security. And we do that, our best. But we just don't allow security to become the central issue, because they will also create conundrums around you, what I call security conundrums, to the extent that you go back to seek security from the people who are making you insecure. So, and the moment they have you surrounded that way, forget it. They'll be giving you security reports. Don't go here to campaign. Don't go here to campaign. At the end of the day, your campaign cannot go beyond between you and the security agents who are advising you. Because there's no space in Nigeria that's secure, to be honest with you. But again, maybe it's not the finest thing to discuss security publicly. But something is being done. With regards to what you can do beyond financial commitments, well, you're out there on social media. Please help amplify our position on the need for Nigeria to change. I'm not afraid to use the word revolution. Nigeria has to experience a revolution, and we have a chance at making that happen. There's a difference between change and revolution. What we need now is a revolutionary position on how the country must move away from the direction that it has been on since. And already people are listening. People are ready. What has been absent over these years is that people can't trust people they have been hearing from. But now I think they can see that, look, this young man is not afraid, because tomorrow, yesterday I'm in Osun State and Badagry. Today I'm in Oakland, I'm in California. And people can understand that we're making connections between your aspirations and the aspiration of people to be free. The aspiration of you here is to have a country you can go to. The aspiration of people at home is to have a country they can live in. And the moment we can match those two aspirations, we will overpower our oppressors. That's it. Sometimes it's something as simple as even calling your congressman. Somebody said yesterday, the letter is going to, I think it's Barbara Lee, is that the senator? Yes, to say, look, something must be done, because if they know that the world is watching, they become very careful. Yes. How do you change the power sector? That's a very interesting question, but it's not difficult. Do you know that within the last 10 years, Morocco, through solar energy, is going to be selling power to France and Malta? The same sunshine that rises over Nigeria is the same one that they are going to be using, because somebody was visionary enough in Morocco, and Tunisia is also doing the same thing now. And recently you heard that Angela Merkel went to Nigeria. He asked Buhari, said, why are you not using solar energy? You are here complaining about lack of electricity. Of course, the man didn't know what, because he didn't even know that Angela Merkel is no longer, that Germany is no longer West or East Germany anymore. He used to call her president of Western Germany. So electricity, you guys got the joke now, right? But it's not funny. But electricity, we have plenty of technology out there today that could make us grow our electricity from the miserable 7,000 megawatts to 24,000. What we tend to do first year in office is to grow that by 4,500 through solar alone. And to put all the solar power together there, that will provide the employment for over 2 million young people. The same thing they are doing in Morocco. The controversy about all the people is not the only controversy about me. You've heard about the marijuana controversy too, right? And what I did was, at the health fair, they were asking about traditional medicine, and I said, every year, Nigeria burns over 1.5 trillion naira worth of marijuana. Yes, they just light it up, And if you burn that amount of marijuana in the country, everybody will be high, Whereas we could package this and export for people who are looking for medicinal value. When I said it, the whole country went up in uproar. Sowore wants to be selling the book. Even in church on Sunday, they said, please, this country needs deliverance. The pastor was pressing around. This country needs a little. Our presidential aspirant said he wants to be selling weeds. But within the context of that, the country had to learn that there is value for marijuana, and that if we were selling it, we could be making, what is Nigeria's budget per year? It's made 1.5 trillion naira if somebody was thinking. Because pharmaceutical companies are buying them and making billions. Colorado made $1.7 billion last year. California is legalizing everywhere. Yes. And I said to them, the best weed in the world is grown in Ekiti. The people of Kwale got upset in Delta State. They said he's from our area. He's back there. He's their ambassador. Then how dare you say that? So can you imagine how much money we have been making from just that? But nobody wants to have the conversations that are necessary for the future. So it is just that easy. Okay, I have someone saying I will take next week.
Number 4. Please keep your questions short.
And
I will try and keep my answers short.
Yes.
Your name.
So we like the long answer.
Okay, number 4.
My name is Omoyele, and my question centers around the governing structure of the country. I mean, if you look at the constitution, there are 3 arms of power of the government, so to say, the executive, the judiciary, as well as legislature. Now you're trying to run for president. Everybody knows in the democracy, especially the one we run, is actually mostly governed by the legislature, which is Congress, the National Assembly. I see the party, I don't know the structure of the party, but I see you as a candidate, and pretty much I have a good vision and everything. But I don't see people going to the assembly, to the Congress. So the way things go in the country now, you can even be a president. If your party doesn't, if you don't hold the majority in the legislature, they will remove you. I mean, because it doesn't cost them anything. I mean, look at what even they're trying to do to their own people. Who's in power, who's not really settling them and it's called in Nigeria. So I wonder how you envision governance, if you happen to make it, if you happen to win the election. Thank you.
Number 5.
Thank you. My name is Omoyele. I have one of the questions I wanted to ask was voting. We in the diaspora want to be able to vote as well. Okay. I actually started following when I was in a very different group, and they started they were saying a lot of rubbish about you, and I said, this is nonsense. I can't be a part of this. And people started saying it's because you're talking from America. So I was going to delete myself. I said I spoke to the administrator, and he said, leave if you have to leave. Sowore is a useless person, and I left. Until my brother told me you were coming. So I said, how do we influence? There's a lot of us here, and we want to be able to influence what's going on at home. So if you're going to capture a set of people, I believe there's an amount you've captured here. At least it should count during this election. So how can we vote during this election? How can we affect you?
Number 6.
Number 6.
I think I'm number 6.
Okay, yes.
But apparently, one of my questions has been asked, and that is I was concerned about your security and also how we could impact the elections for the current session. I would love for us to be able to vote. But I guess an addition would be like, even though you said that we could do other things, I wonder if you can copywriters for political manifesto.
Absolutely.
I would love to vote.
That's somebody is where's Josh? He can be a copywriter for it, yes. Please, absolutely, he'll get you.
Number 7.
Number 7, yes, that will be
incoming President Sowore. Thank you. I'm a politician. And for the political class, I'll sure take responsibility for some of the problems besetting our nation state. Having said that, we know your antecedents, we know your proclivity towards things that would engender positive change in the Nigerian nation space. The problem is not that of leadership alone, but also that of the proletariat, if you ask me. Followers. Nigeria is a nation of paradoxes. So much hypocrisy about. Number 4, just quick question out of the map. How do you manage people? How do you sustain the vision, the aspiration that Sowore stands for? Given the hypocrisy of our people, the sheer tomfoolery, the absurdity of the Nigerian individual, politician, follower, how do we effect change when you stand alone as the president and you have a corrupt, followership? How do you lead the people that do not want change?
Thank you. This is yes. The first question is actually from our brother there, and this is very fundamental. And that is to say, if you are going to be president, what about the other arms of government? How do you control and populate them with people with progressive ideas, if I get you correctly? And our party, which is the African Action Congress, is 1 month, 1 day old as of today. Yes. Already, we have had over 1,000 people indicate that they want to run for different offices across Nigeria, including the Senate, House of Representatives, and, did I say House of Representatives? Yes. And governorship across the country. What I need to say to you is that, yes, we may not be able to win all of the positions in offices enough to get the kind of people we want to support the government. But something will change fundamentally in Nigeria if there's a generational change of leadership. To the extent that even if some people are coming back to the Senate with a mindset of the past, they will find a brain reset from Nigerians who are saying, look, you can be a senator, you can be who you want to be, but we have just voted for a new sheriff as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that would lead, because no matter what you think about Nigerians, the moment they find a different order, they conform with it very quickly. You know how you know it? You can find somebody in Nigeria who drives 120 miles per hour in Nigeria. Don't wait for traffic light. The moment they enter America, you don't need to tell them that you get into trouble when you run the red lights. You don't need to. They understand that you get away with things where there are no consequences. Where there are consequences, they conform. But it's not as simple as that. What I want to tell you is that it's not only the legislative arm that needs reform. What about the judiciary, where we have no power to even vote for our judges? But it's the president that is responsible for appointing judges. Presidents have power in Nigeria to actually remove corrupt judges because he's the executive person. President has power to appoint an inspector general of police that is not confusion, and who can put people in their places. President has got the power to do a lot of things even within the context of the Nigerian Constitution, including putting senators where they belong if they are corrupt. And when you have a president who is doing his job the way I am campaigning now, which is with stamina, I'm ahead of all of the country. I've traveled in more cities and villages and towns in Nigeria than Buhari has done in the last 3 years since he's been in power. Yes. Buhari has 9 presidential jets. I don't have a bicycle in Nigeria. But I've been everywhere. So if you have a president that is alive to his duties and responsibilities, the pressure will be on this representative you are talking about to do their own part too. Don't forget that when they don't do it, we have a power of recall. You can recall your senator anytime you want. You can recall your House of Rep member. You can impeach your governor. There are so many democratic ways to make them function in the interest of the people. But the moment the president is not working in the interest of the people, you are wasting your time. Is it not the same Nigerian House of Rep members, National Assembly people, all of them combined together could not bring Jonathan to power, even when they knew that Yar'Adua had died, brain dead. It took Sahara reporters, all of you who were around during that period, to keep reporting that this man is dead, this man is dead, when judges were collecting bribes from his wife and his cabal, when the National Assembly refused to make a proclamation. So one man with the right vision can inspire a nation to freedom, because that vision will also, engender and create support from others with good conscience, like yourselves. I am sure that so many of you would have been running for office in Nigeria today with us if we did this some 5 years ago. So honestly, you have to blame us that we are late to the game. Because look at, in 1 month, 1 day, what we have been able to do, the ground we have covered with just a new political messaging to people that this country, yes, we can have a different country. Don't forget that our Take It Back movement, or that, hashtag, started from Nigeria this year. By 2 weeks ago, Obama was here in California shouting, "Take it back." Yes. Yes, Americans also want to take their country back. But we will do our own first before they get to their own. Can diasporas vote? No. Because the law does not allow you, will not allow you to vote. But can you really vote? It depends on how you want to vote. Yes. You can, it's too late now if you don't have your PVC. But there's a way you can vote that probably you've never discovered. Everybody at home has someone in diaspora who they listen to, who they respect. You can use the power of your telephone to convince your people. So many of the people that are supporting us at home are in diaspora. What do? They say, I'm in Kano. I have a house. I'll give it to you as party secretariat because nobody's living there. We have plenty of those now, apart from financial contributions. There are people who have given us their vehicles. There are people who have hotels. I didn't know until now how many businesses you people have in Nigeria. Just go and stay in my hotel, we get there and say, wow, big hotel. We stay there overnight for free. There are people who will say, look, if you go to so place, you need food, go to my water factory. Because a lot of Nigerians have invested in the country, and that's the reason why most of you are not even asking for much. You just need some basic things. Because you have already made the investments there. In fact, some of you have investment at home that is enough to lead you into a life of retirement, happily in Nigeria. But you need a country that is safe to go back to. So you can't vote, but you can vote with your conscience, you can vote with your connections, and you can vote also by financially supporting our movement as well. But here is what I would say. When we become president next year, diaspora voting, and you can take it for granted. That I will tell you. There's no way we will not approve diaspora voting the first, and as soon as possible, it will be a priority for us because you are the real foreign investors into Nigeria. 70 billion is the estimated amount of money that we send home every year. There's no country on earth that will give you that much money as aid, not even in doing businesses. So you deserve the right to vote. Bola, we talked about the copywriter. How do you sustain your vision given the stomach infrastructure mentality you asked? Stomach infrastructure is very popular. And I'll tell you that. And the way I describe it is that it is a way where someone gives you a grinding machine and it gives you rice, give you some pepper, tomato, onion, and it says grind this in and drink it, and you eat one day, and you are there like, oh my God, I'm satisfied, I'm full. And then when you get hungry for other things, education, roads, hospitals, you go back to the same politician and say, oh God, can we get roads? He points to your stomach. He said it's inside your stomach. Because you've already eaten your roads. You've eaten your future. And I think Nigerians are getting the message now that when a politician gives you money on election day, probably you'll never see him until the next election. There is an Igbo adage that says that if you buy a goat in the market and somebody approaches you, a potter approaches that they want to help you take your goats home, and they are going to pay you to help you take your goats home, you are not likely to find the goat again. That's a thief that just stole it from you. So it's the same thing in politics. A lot of people understand now, but we haven't gotten to a point yet where the consciousness is, pervasive enough for Nigerians everywhere to understand that there needs to be a total rejection of money politics. That is why Ekiti was such a bad example for us. But do you know the reason why Nigeria as a whole will be different from Ekiti in 2019? Is that there are other fundamental issues that are at stake. People understand that if you have Buhari come again, your land might be at stake. Yes, your religion might be at stake. Right? And I'm not preaching any religious division or anything. They know that their economy will be at stake, that education will be at stake. And contrary to what you hear, that Buhari is completely in control of the north, there is no more monolithic north for Buhari anymore. Because we went to Jalingo in Taraba State, they don't want to hear Buhari. Wow. Benue State, they don't want to hear Buhari. Because they have become refugees in their land because of Buhari's policies. You go to Plateau State, they don't want to hear Buhari. Part of Adamawa, they don't want to hear Buhari because all of them are refugees in their land in the last 3 years. You even go to Borno State, where Boko Haram is now resurging with audacity. They don't want to hear Buhari. So that concept, or the lie that the whole north is for Buhari, is a facade. And those who are promising him the southwest, they will wake up into a state of coma. Yes, because even the man they are relying upon will not be able to win the local government in Lagos this time around. They are tearing themselves apart now over the resources in Lagos. So please, we should just welcome the developments at home with open arms. We should be celebrating, but we need to seriously understand that this is going to require a lot of work and investment. So I've just been told that the last 4 questions might have to wait until there's a special announcement.
Yes.
Right now.
Okay, so we'll come back to the question and answer. At this time, I would like to, of course, you guys have heard a lot. You've had your questions answered. Isn't this a good movement to support?
Yes.
I'm just overwhelmed. I don't know what we can do. I think you have a lot of volunteers here. If you can support with your money, you can support, like you said, with your hotel that is in Nigeria or your car or whatever. But at this time, I'd like to call Sister Veronica to come and do a little bit of, tell you more how you can support today's event.
I don't.
So, good evening again. I am not here to tell you more, I'm here to beg you. I'm here to beg you to please reflect on everything that our Honorable Presidents talked about. It does take money for things to happen. And nothing is too little and nothing is too large. The theory you had yesterday, I really like it, where you projected that if everyone could donate a certain amount, we could raise 2 million.
Yes.
And please, can you tell me
that?
Yeah,
so simple theory is that we need $2 million to prosecute this agenda of winning the election. It's a drop in the bucket if you think about how much these guys they have a war chest already, laying around in their basements, you know, in their various banks. But 2 million for us will work wonders, because we are not going to be buying bread or bills of clothing they call Ankara in Nigeria, or giving branded rice. And quite honestly and fairly, Nigerians are not asking us for anything, because there's a new currency in town, which is ideas. So, but if we can get 10,000 Nigerians to donate $200 each, just 10,000 would have made that $2 million. And we can give you a brand new Nigeria by next year.
Thank you. I was thinking about it, and I kept wondering how we could start a movement for $200 only. Take it back $200 only. That if you can, please tonight give us $200. We'll take it. If you have more, we'll take it as well. If you have less, we'll grab it. So essentially, I'm reaching out to you to please. We'll take checks and we'll take cash, and the check should be made out to take it back. We actually have a mobile credit card station. So, and we'll take Deutschmark and pound sterling as well. There's Naira.
We have Zelle.
Can we project all those things?
Zelle, what is the number?
Yeah, we have
donate at Sowore 2019.com.
And Zelle as well.
You can do email.
And so what we're essentially saying is there's no form of payment that you have we can negotiate. We have resources, we have Chase, Quick Pay, just about anyway, because we need the money. Sorry?
When can we do that?
So my guys,
we can help if you.
Yeah, and actually, if there are people that need it, we can come to you as well. So Ugo and yeah. So if you help me, so please.
We have a volunteer,
you know, and then in the back we can take care of it gently.
And
yeah, I know. So yeah, we're a team, and we can do it. We start from here. We still want to ask you as well. We'll send email. Please make sure you signed in today in your email. If you could reach 10 people for $200, that would just calculate how many of us are here. And $200 isn't much. That's what Obama did. Obama was taking $10, $20, $100, and then the massive turnout placed a president that reshaped America for 8 years, so that even without him being in power, it's auto working because of the foundation he left. And you and I know that. So we know that our future is about to change. I could just feel it. And I think that's the same thing. Not that I crave anybody to die, but I was in Nigeria in 1999 around the Abacha period. Nobody's happy for anyone's death, but it was incredible. People were kind of hostage, and everyone had given up. We were shocked when we heard that he passed, because that was the only thing that broke Nigeria loose from the grip of the slavery that Nigerians were in. And somehow I have the same feeling, I think we all do, like something big is about to happen. People talk about Nigeria as the next big Dubai, because obviously from historical knowledge and things I hear, Nigeria money is what made Dubai what it is. And we have a whole lot of it if we can grab it back, take it back. So we would like to go around, and we don't have microphone, but I can pretend there's a microphone. And I will start with this amazing couple. Can we count on both of you tonight? Would you like to give us a check?
Don't carry check around.
Or you can sell it? Okay. So
give the information. Just give somebody the information.
Okay. So there's a square card for debit or credit. And for the Zelle, that's right here. He has it right here.
So I'm gonna tell you guys.
Thank you.
The information if you are selling it.
Okay.
So it's donate, DONATE at Sowore, SOWORE 2019.org and Zelle.
Donate at
Sowore
2019.org.
All right, and for anyone that also wants to pay by credit card, it's ready. I can come to you with this phone.
Oh yeah, after you take the, you are leaving now. Is that what?
So did you guys get that? Repeat it again. Donate, DONATE, the @ because it's like you're sending an email, @Sowore, SOWORE 2019.org. Yes, for Zelle. To send a donation. So basically, my phone died. So when you go to Zelle, it will ask you where you want to send the money, if you want to email it, and so this is the information you will put. I need to send the.
Tell him to stop. You won't come off.
You will not come off?
Yes. Quickly wipe it off. Quickly wipe it off.
Soap and water.
It will. Is it a wipe? It is. Okay, it's one of those wipes.
Just put it on a piece of paper.
So if you have cash and you want to drop it, please
Silicon Valley.
see our system.
All right. As well, part of our fundraising is we have.
Can we get your attention, everyone, please? Please, one moment. Thank you.
All right. I have a T-shirt that has a very important message. It's universal, and I know that that's what Nigeria will become, the leader of the universe. And I would like to encourage you to buy 2 T-shirts, one that you wear every day, and the one that we would get in that airplane and fly to Nigeria in that T-shirt. So I encourage you because it's going really fast, going. It's only $15, and it's you get in the back. Mr. Julius is ready for you and best man. So don't leave without 2 T-shirts. $15, that's only $30. That's lunch money from Starbucks.
And you know what? I just wanted to share this while we are talking about donating. You know, in our community, in the Nigerian community, I don't know about the men, but the women do waste a lot of money doing things that really doesn't make sense. You know, recently somebody was having a baby shower, and she had a list of like more than 100 people, and each of those people donated $100. And I thought, this is for one day's rent. You know, this $200 that we're asking to donate is to bring the lights to Nigeria. $200. That's not a lot of money. That's money my kids spend for lunch. Yeah, to buy shoes. So, you know, I really truly want to encourage you guys, if you can, do donate, and you can break it up. You know, like say today that you are going to make a $50 donation, and program it like every 2 weeks. You do another $50. Or if you want to do 25, you can break it up into 8 payments of $25 each. Every 2 weeks you do $25. So what a GoFundMe, there's a group. What is the name of the GoFundMe?
It's GoFundMe.com/Sowore2019.
Okay. So you can donate. And there's a website, I believe, also. Yeah, so you can also donate from the website.
And you have a Nigerian account.
And we also and we still have your credit card, you can slide it easily. So I know that, I also want to thank those who were at the event yesterday for your donations. So I want to recognize that some of you are here. We're all dedicated. In fact, if you're wondering how crazy I am in this outfit, my friend's husband is 70 years old tonight, birthday. But I think I'm so addicted to what's happening here, and I'm not going there yet in San Ramon. So I was on my way there, but I want to take him. Thank you. So yeah, Nigeria is like here in my heart. I don't mess with my home. I love my culture. I'm really proud of being a Nigerian. So basically, I'm gonna. No, there's no music. I was gonna say DJ keep playing. And come around and come to you in person. So if you want to write a check. Thank you.
So if you are doing a check, you do it to take it back.
He's gonna help me.
If you are writing a check, make the check payable to take it back.
Mr. Okwere, thank you for being here.
So folks, real quickly, we are all accustomed to going to Wakekeeping and donating minimum amounts. In fact, this is a typical Wakekeeping night for most of us. And we like to invest in the past. You know, there's no way to gather people to get together in our community than to mention a Wakekeeping. We all get excited about that. I'm non-partisan, but I want to encourage you, whatever you donate to this effort is so the future of your children. We've all lived here for quite a long time. Many of us come here, like he said, to go to a school, to do whatever, and we're stuck here. And what I actually find out when I talk to our people on my program is, eventually I want to go back to Nigeria. But sadly, most of you don't go back to Nigeria. And what they do is they go back in their coffin, because the situation in Nigeria keeps getting worse every day. Now, I don't know what he's going to do and how effective that's going to be, but it could be a change to dislodge those archaic people that we've had entrenched in power there. So whatever money you're donating tonight, be $50 to $200, whatever it is, you could look at it as, well, you could be given, but not to Wakekeeping, but to the future of that country. Because if they're able to actually launch this party and make it effective, it could actually make a difference between you going home frequently or your children actually thinking, I want to go back to Nigeria at one point. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Michael, may I say that that's actually the funeral of the old.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, it is, yeah. Did I have somebody else who is... Yes,
I donated. Sorry,
how much did I get from you? Please, what's your name, sir? I think it's...
My name is on my check.
Your name is on your check. What is that check?
And he's actually from my university.
Oh, okay, he's the one that I connect. Okay, well, good. Oh, thank you. I got that information. I'm like, Deji, call him right now. Yeah, he did. So Dr. Salako is a friend,
we went to Unilag together. Yes, he met me in Unilag.
Way back today, and he heard about him. He was actually going to put the money in GoFundMe, which means
no, another one is still going to GoFundMe.
God bless you.
That one
so thank you, Dr. Salako, for your donation. Okay, I was going to find you. Oh, this is awesome. Well done. So what's your name, sir?
Olushola. So let's say a little vision.
How much are you giving us? So Mr. Olushola Adeyemi, $200.
Right here.
Sure. Honorable.
No, we don't do that.
Honorable Mary Mefun, $50 whopping. No, we will get the money. Thank you. What do we get? Okay. Mr. Oluige is getting ready to give us some money. I'll let you know once I get it.
Yes.
This time Mr. Sanaro gave us $200. I have another credit card here. Somebody.
So the goal, our vision for this room, I think we can do like $3,000 in this section alone. 3,000 here, another 3,000 here. Can't we?
We can.
We can, right?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. That's the attitude. AAC. Take it back.
Action.
So if we are going to have action, we can do it. Let's have this challenge. 3,000 on this side. I see some very influential people over here. And 3 over here. And 3 in this section. So far we have 1,400. Let's keep going.
Why are you guys leaving me alone now?
So we are doing it. Please keep going. There are some people that are donating on GoFundMe. So we have 2 people that we didn't get their question.
I said now, I didn't my question. I took my money. No question, but I took my check.
No, she was saving the best for the last. Yes.
So far we have 1850.
You didn't take my question, but you taking my check.
No, we are going to take your question. Dr. Lakau, get up and tell us your question. I'll write it. Seriously. What is your question? We are ready. Oh, yes. Number 8. Number 7. No, you are number 8.
I thought you were just going to take my money and not.
No. So we are not like that now.
Just messing with you.
So I need to write down my question. 200. Yeah, we added it. Thank you. I'm ready for your question.
I arrived here last year.
$200
When it's ready, don't worry. It's ready. Don't rush to.
I said it.
No.
Thank you so much.
Okay. What's your question?
Yes, I'm taking
You should be able to write it down.
I'm ready. I'm not writing like it.
So, Mr. Sowore, thank you for coming out here to see us in the Bay Area. I was actually with you in University of Lagos. You came in like 2 or 3 years when I was there. And I know God has a mission for you. Because we thought you were dead when you were injected in the early 90s and they almost killed you. So my question is, I'm a physician by profession. So
a good one at that.
So I left Nigeria because I knew I could not make impact. A pregnant woman died right in front of me. I couldn't do anything just because they didn't have money.
Wow.
So you said a little bit about what you're doing regarding the health sector.
Yes.
Do you have health care team? If you do, are they meeting? And if they're meeting, where can we join them online to see what their plans are? 2, what are your plans to capture the North? Because we're hearing so many things coming out of the North, that you're not popular there and all this. Is your vice president going to come from the North? The last question, regarding what happened in the Oni of Ife's, Oni's palace. We didn't know who actually shot the tear gas. Can you just tell us a little bit what you and the king discussed and how you guys came to a resolution? Thank you.
May we take a commercial break? Just a commercial break. I want us to give a round of applause to Mr. Deotis. $200. Doctor, please, let's give him a round of applause. Dr. Salato, 250. So go ahead. ahead, we'll take 251 from the next bidder. And I come over here, and these three gentlemen remind me of my sons. My baby is a computer engineer, computer scientist, and they look like my son. And guess what? Right on this line, $600, $200. Our president said it, that's where our future is. Because imagine what will happen. My son and these guys take over Nigeria. When he says we'll take over the world, yes we will.
Yeah.
So,
my son went to Nigeria and said, why? I asked him, how was your experience? And he said, oh, people were just fine without having Wi-Fi.
It's amazing.
So, like, Wi-Fi is like, it's so common, yeah, you don't think about it.
Yeah. After food.
And then you go to a place where...
After food is Wi-Fi.
Yeah, no, it's food, Wi-Fi is number one.
It's now even before.
Yeah.
So I'm just agreeing with our president that this is our future. Yes. And the money that goes home from all of us every day when they call us that their leg got broken or that their house they are taking it, every day we send dollars home. These are future. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
So, somebody with this bell.
You guys, we still have t-shirts in the back. You can support also by donating, getting a t-shirt, please.
Pious.
Okay. Number 8. Yeah. Oh, number 8. Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Omoyele, originally from Oakland State. I was born and bred in Omoyele. I've been in this state since 1997.
Can we keep the volume down a little bit, please? Thank you.
I just want to tell Mr. President, he is going to be my president henceforth. You will have a very unique hairstyle. And what is the name of the style, and how long have you been cutting your hair like this? Nigeria, follow me. My second question is going to be, it is no longer news. The incidents at the Palace of Oni of Ife. And there are various reports of the incidents. Can you please tell us for the record what exactly happened at the Palace of Oni Ife during your last visit? And the last one before I sit down is that it was also reported that you were going to be exporting wheat. That's the marijuana you have mentioned that. And as a president, this state that we are in, they have legalized the recreational marijuana. How do you intend to achieve mass production of wheat in Nigeria for exports? I'm not from Nigeria, I'm in Nigeria, Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much.
What's your name?
My name is Davis. First of all, thank you very much for the courage it has taken to embark on this presidential journey. So basically, through Sahara, you've been able to understand and fully leverage the power of the internet. As we know, over the last 25 years. Okay, I'll sorry. As we know, over the last 25 years, nothing has created as much wealth in the US, especially as the tech industry. So the question I have for you, what are your thoughts on your administration's actions towards empowering Nigerians by creating more awareness about the study of computer science and also making sure that parents sort of encourage their kids, because I work as a computer engineer now, but while I was studying, my parents were really very shaky about the idea of me doing comp science. My dad is a doctor, but still then he really didn't understand how that was a reputable, thing to do. So, this is more about like changing the mindset and the mentality of people towards tech. So yeah, if you tell us more about that.
Number 9.
No, that's 9.
That was number 10.
10.
So my name is Ola Oluwalotobi Thomas, and a lady who inspires me, Dr. Mae Jameson, who's the first black woman that we know to go to space. She once said that pursuing an extraordinary tomorrow creates a better today. So I want to pursue that. So I pursued it with NASA here in the US, and I've yet to hear back from them. Then I went NASA space program. Then I pursued it with Russia space program, and although the conversation went really well, it ultimately came to I needed to be become a Russian citizen to eventually explore with them. So my question is, how, under your presidency, how will Nigeria explore space to benefit Nigeria, and how will you support people like me who want to represent Nigeria in space?
Oh, good. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. So we'll answer the question in a minute.
Can I announce that we also have $200 from Mr. and Mrs. Scholar Summer? And I also want to announce a great concept that my sister, Mrs. Ukiruka, did. She's gave us donation yesterday, and she'll be giving $50 every month. So we will be setting up a system on our Sowore WhatsApp group, and we'll put it on Facebook everywhere. So if you would like to do what we do for Obama here, a lot of us are on monthly check to Obama, and Barbara Lee on monthly to Barbara Lee. So people like that, I think we should all begin to do that for Sowore. We should start, even if it's $5. $5 from 1 million people, that's 5 million. So I think of it that way. Even $1 from 1 million people, that's $1 million. So let's consider asking for the grassroots just $5 minimum. If we can hit 1 million people, you guys, chicken change of what the president is saying, 2 million, he'll get in a heartbeat 5 million. So let's use our numbers to build capacity. So I'm taking it back with AAC party. Sowore, how about you? Wow. Another check for $200 from my big brother, my big uncle, Mr. Joseph Alabi. Let's give it a round of applause. I'm still collecting checks and money. I get all excited. Oh, guys, I have another $200 confirmed. Thank you so much. God bless your pocket. Please, I told you 200. I got excited. Mr. Deyonju, please. $200. It was Zell. It was Zell. So it's from yeah. So I don't want to miss anyone. Who haven't I talked to? People are like, yeah, right. You think I'll tell you? Chief, please. Check or cash or Zell. Which one you want?
You missed a lovely couple back there, Sister Dara. There are some lovely people that have a company called I Shine. Global. I Shine Global, yeah.
How much am I getting? Okay. Okay, where is the check? In the back.
So very quickly, just to let you know, this event is being broadcast all over the world, and because this is the first global movement of the 21st century coming out of Nigeria. So just as we're here, we have a lot of our supporters who are out there. So you know, and they are clapping for you as well. Yeah, so just we are getting digital props.
Yay! And so while you're saying that, Mr. President, we have $100 from the Mr. Isaiah Olubi. And we have a whopping $250 from Dr. Salako. Great. So did you guys take your business already? Yeah.
Okay. Well, now we start.
Hey, never stop it.
It's done? They did 250, 500.
Maybe while you're doing this, can we just answer the questions?
Oh yes, sorry. I've been taking commercial breaks because I want
no
to.
Problem, no problem.
So the adult is give us $250. And then from Mr. Okwere. He just saw my thing on Facebook and came off. So thank you. From the Thomas family, $200. So we'll take a commercial break is over, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. You know, somebody was making a joke yesterday in the car on our way to the fundraiser yesterday also in Oakland. He said Nigeria no longer teach history in their schools because our ancestors are still with us. Nigeria has a president that is older than Nigeria. Yes. And when they talk about experience, sometimes you wonder, if experience is so powerful, why didn't we send Odegbami to go and play for us in the World Cup? You know? Yes. Dr. Salako, I want to answer your question about healthcare. And we actually have been expanding our teams, and it's been ballooning, you know, because just in the New York area alone, there are about 3,000 Nigerian doctors in New York City, New York State alone. I don't know how many of you are out here. In fact, if every Nigerian doctor were to be part of this project, we wouldn't need to do a fundraiser because they have the money. But a lot of them, like every one of you, have had traumatic experiences of people dying needlessly in their clinics or when they are unable to help. And one of them told me that they don't know how many times they have violated even their Hippocratic oath. So they are, you call them, to their patients, but in Nigeria you don't have patients, you have victims of the medical system. It was Taiso Larry who used to say that the Nigerian clinic has become consulting centers, and then they become death centers, and then somebody said they are mortuaries. But the way it is today, Nigerian hospitals can't even process dead people. Yes. They don't have the ability to embalm anymore. Somebody has embezzled the money for embalming dead people too. Our health system is broken, and we have teams. But what we're doing is to create health care teams in different parts of the world and the US, different states. Because what we've known or we understand about healthcare now is no longer what we used to know. It's not about, just treating people. It's about what technology has also done to healthcare. Yesterday, the day we arrived, we went to the museum, Computer History Museum here. And it's unbelievable how many things have gone to the museum. How many cell phones, you remember the palm in those days? They're all in the museum now. And one question I raised aloud is that, why is Buhari not in the museum? Because man is antiquated. And a lot of our leaders are supposed to be in the museum. We just put them there, we're going to look at it and say, this used to be our president in 1994. Because computer devices that were made when I came to the US. They are already in the museum because the world is moving so fast. And I think that applies to healthcare. So we'll register you with one of our healthcare teams, or you can actually lead one for us. Maybe the University of Lagos alumni healthcare team, whichever one, will do that. Plan to capture the knot. The knot is actually crying for help. If I tell you that the part of Nigeria that is most desperately in need of climbing out of poverty is northern part of Nigeria. And when we traveled there, they verbalize it to us. Women saying they want to send their children to school. I said it earlier today. They call school Makaranta in the north. The ones that didn't know how to speak English say, what do you want? They say, Makaranta, Makaranta. They were sent to us. So, capturing the north requires the help we need for you to be able to move into the north and spread the message to them. The average northern person needs to hear messages from their radio. So we need to be able to send messages to them through the radio. The message I'm giving to you today resonates more with an average northerner when it's broken down to their level. Because the northern person, most northerners are organized around a political philosophy known as Tawa Kawas. And they have one political agenda only, to climb out of poverty. That's all. They are not yet interested in driving a big car because they are not there yet. But they just want to be able to send their children to school, get medical help, feed, have a roof over their head. When we travel in the north, you need to see the houses people live in the north. If you have ever insulted a northerner, you will say, Father, forgive me, because I've been ignorant. So they need it, and the way to reach them is radio. When you spread ignorance by not educating people, and you sprinkle a little bit of religion into it, you have a time bomb in your hands. I won't say anymore. The palace incident, I will use that to address that of Dr. Salako and Olusola. The palace incident is based on one thing and one thing only: our culture that has refused to evolve. A tradition that was responsible for slavery and are still holding people to some kind of obeisance, in which you then combine with the military mentality that I call obey before complain. We went to the palace of the Oni of Ife. He sent an invitation through a friend of ours that I should come. And we went there. He said, I have an appointment for 12 noon. We got there at 11:48. After staying for 3 hours, there was no information regarding what is going to happen. So, but we stayed there regardless. Eventually, we got to have somebody say he would be around the Oni of Ife. A young person, educated, in 20 minutes, waited. He didn't show up until another hour after that. When he did and all the rites were performed, I stood up and said, this is not fair. You wouldn't do this. I said, obviously, you travel around the world. You wouldn't do this to white people. Keep them waiting. And I said, as a result, I am not going to prostrate for you. Yes. After making my point, which is complain before obey, I got my colleagues. I said, now we are going to respect the tradition. We bowed. They said because my chest did not touch the ground. Yes, they released tear gas on us. Everybody was shaking. And when we tried to go and catch fresh air outside, they attacked us physically inside the palace ground. I came back and said, this is 21st century. Why are people getting beaten up in your palace? Well, at the end of the day, I think the whole world was that because we're doing this live. They appealed to the cultural elders there, and we eventually ended the program on a good note. But what I did is what I've always done in my life. I'm a conscientious objector. And as you all know, when Ife Ile-Ife was created, there was a saying that Omodegwon Agwon died Ile-Ife. For those of you who don't understand Yoruba, it says it was the wisdom of the young and the old that created Ife. Ife is the cradle of civilization according to Yoruba. So if I'm a youth, it means that Ife knew about me before now. The oracles knew I would be coming.
Yes.
Way before now. So they shouldn't have been shocked when I stood up there to say this is the right way to do things now. But the custodians of the culture have a different view of how I should be treated. Second other reason, which was fine, is that I knew that if I was Atiku, Buhari or Tinubu, I wouldn't wait 5 minutes in that palace. But because I'm a son or child of nobody, and I said, if it will take just me and my life to teach or have a teachable moment in that palace and place so that the whole world can understand that there's a new standard for treating everybody equally. That was why I did what I did. I want to assure you, because the uproar has been that there are people who are still stuck in the past. And some PhD holders, with Yoruba names, who said I should be beheaded and my head sent to my parents because I did not prostrate for the audio. Yes. But you cannot blame it. The Yoruba culture, sadly, was responsible for slavery. Over 43 million people were sold into slavery from Badagry alone with the help of Yoruba Obas. And when we went to Badagry, I asked, what was the consequence against the kings that did this? None. We still went back and started prostrating for them. But the problem is that you are prostrating for a king who is prostrating for a politician. You know, yes. That's what happened. So we have resolved our differences, hopefully. But for those of you who worry about my security, don't also forget that our traditional rulers have been responsible for the demise of a lot of our citizens. It was their collaboration and connivance that killed Abiola. Don't forget Bola. His heart was removed in that palace before he was shot dead. Wow. Yes, a few days later. So, but don't worry about me. As I've always said, we are going to the promised land, and all of us will be there. Okay. Yes.
Commercial break, sir.
Yes.
Yes. And so within less than an hour, you guys, you rock. We have 2,650.
Wow.
Just to confirm that the square really works. So if you still want to give, we have 1,250 from Square, cash 150, check 550, Zelle 7 whopping $100, and as well from Mr. Mba, $100. Don't wait for me.
Take it back! Action! Take it back! Action! Thank you, California.
And then not in cash value, but Mr. Uje, the J-Man, has pledged, not even pledged, promised that he's going to Nigeria from December till the inauguration.
Wow.
About that $1 million, $50 only. That's 50 million.
Yeah.
$1 million people, $50 only. So it takes you putting on your Facebook and start telling people to multiply. So we'll give you the Zelle, the cash. We'll take cash, check, GoFundMe. We'll put it on. Just help us replicate it on your Facebook. Because if you guys remember, this is what happened with Obama. Remember, I just want to keep repeating it, that the Obama concept, which my sister already is doing, is that monthly, just only $10. You don't even know when it goes. So let's start that concept and then have your friends do it. We need to take Nigeria back.
That's right.
Okay. So collector, cash, I don't like that. Oh yes, and then I know I'm a sick woman. And then
So-
people that said they come, I'm coming back home. And then where's my sister? So I don't have to charge anymore.
Thank you. So, Olusola, you asked about my hairstyle. It's called Showtime. I was born with it. And there was the issue of cannabis, which I want to briefly address. What is amazing about Nigeria and Nigerians is that we are the happiest people in the world, and it's real. But what probably you have never heard from in science is that the reason we are happy is that we actually have a gene in our body known as a feel-good gene. And the feel-good gene is officially known as cannabis gene. So the reason why we are happy people even when we are suffering and smiling, as Fela would say, is because we have that gene. But mass production of weed is not something we need to even start talking about. It's already happening in Nigeria. Yeah, people grow weed already in Nigeria. And there are over 30 uses of weed, including making, in fact, hemp was first known for making ropes, very strong ropes. It was when they started burning the ropes and they started inhaling that they discovered that it had THC, the one that makes you high. But THC is just a very small part of it. But today, cannabis has been discovered to be one of the most wonderful plants in the world. And I must put a disclaimer out there: I've never smoked weed before. Yes, yes, and you can use it to make t-shirts. It's stronger than cotton. You can use it to make jewelries. Yes, you can use them to make ropes. It's even used to control other weeds. Yes, if you plant cannabis around smaller weeds, it will kill all of them. You smoke them. Yes. But most importantly, it's medicinal use. It's known to help you with nausea, pain. Recently, I think they found out it also kills cancer cells. Yes. Yes, it has so many uses. But guess what? Tobacco that kills people is legal in Nigeria. Alcohol that kills people is legal in Nigeria. But weed that helps is illegal in Nigeria. But this is not the first time something that is native to us has been declared illegal. The white people, when they came to Africa, Nigeria, they found that we could make alcohol better than their London dry gin. And they made it illegal to produce it. They call it illicit gin. Up to when I was in my teenage in Ondo State, they were still going around in the heights, in the riverine area, seizing ogogoro, as we call it. But if you drink a shot of ogogoro, as they say in Yoruba, your eyes will be clear. If you are interested in ogogoro, because it's made from palm wine. The palm that is natural. It's better than dry gin. But because the white people wanted to be selling their own product, they made it illegal for us to produce our own, which is better than their own. So this is not a fair. We just need to apply wisdom. But to apply wisdom, you need wise leaders to run your country. It is not only weeds that I'm discussing so that people don't reduce my campaign to a win. In fact, it was an answer to a small question about traditional medicine at a health seminar. We have what we call Spicer Heat, which is security, power, infrastructure, anti-corruption, economy restructuring, health, education, agriculture, and tourism. So that you know, it's called Spicer Heat.
May I do a commercial? Okay. One, sorry. And so, this is one of our leaders. Please come in the Bay Area. Wow. And the movement, we combined with the Dapo and I and him, we have like thousands of contacts of Nigeria.
Wow.
So he has, so he's one of those that, of course, we copied and he puts it and people show up. So, Mr. Osage, the Oba Piki, Oba of Benin Piki. So he has a very important message from Oba Omoyele. Please, it's private. Tell him. So meanwhile, I'm still collecting checks and cash and Zelle. I don't get tired of collecting money. Don't invite me to collect money if you get tired of it. So, because I don't, I'm just scanning the room. I might do second round. And please don't not come to an event if you have the one.
President?
Yes. That's my
I want to show you that boy.
Those are my babies. Did you?
No, it's good stuff.
Yes, so I just want to quickly answer the last two questions. One of it is study of computer science that brother mentioned. Maybe the way to approach it is to redefine the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Right? Yes. You know what they say? Anybody can tell me what the
basic food, shelter, security, and then
under our regime, we are going to redefine it. Wi-Fi will become one of the hierarchy of needs.
That's right.
And studying computer science in Nigeria is actually a done deal. You can hardly find a young person who doesn't have some kind of technological inclination. If you know the kind of inventions that are coming from Nigeria, now in Nigeria there's a version of PayPal, Flutterwave in Nigeria. A lot of Nigerians are inventing stuff, right? I tell people, if I was American and I started Sahara Reporters when I did it, by now I'll be a billionaire, legitimately, because it was an innovation at that time, you know, and it still is today. But I happen to have come from a wrong country. But guess what? One of my biggest investors in Sahara Reporters that in those days, up till last year, was the owner of eBay. At the time, Nigerian politicians were looking for how to assassinate me. The guy, I bought a $600 computer from eBay to start Sahara Reporters. The guy, when he first gave me money, a grant, he gave me $450,000 as a grant, and subsequently gave even more money to me. Because he said, I can't believe that someone can start a citizen journalism platform that's shaking Nigeria like this. But the people, I'm just saying that so that you understand how they kill innovation in Nigeria. But the people who empower in Nigeria sued me 4 times in the US with an average of demand for me to pay 10 million naira as damages to them for libel. I won all the cases. When I got to Nigeria, I took Sahara Reporters to Nigeria last year for the first time. As I was arriving at the place I rented to use at the office, they attacked me physically. The second day, police arrested me. 2 weeks later, they seized all the money I brought to Nigeria, $200 and something thousand through a court judgment that Saraki obtained in the morning. Till today, they are still holding on to that money. They have no interest in innovation. They have no interest in any form of development. If you have an innovation, you take it to Nigeria today. If they cannot kill you to get it, they will steal it from you. I'm telling you, without the leadership that is innovative and liberal enough and open-minded enough, Nigeria is not going anywhere. What you have in the country is analog leadership. Until you get a leadership that is digital in nature, you cannot move. And that ties to space exploration. Do you know the story of exploration of space in Nigeria? Nigeria spent over $40 million under Obasanjo to go and buy a fry pan from China and put it in space. 2 years later, it was the first thing to fall out of space. I don't know whose backyard that thing fell into. But this is a true story of exploration. Because I met a guy who was involved in it. He said when they were taking the equipment to Nigeria, they will call them and say, don't bring it except you put 4 SUVs in the container. Selfish leaders. They were more interested in the SUVs than the equipment for space. So they eventually never really bought real space equipment. They were using them to buy SUVs and exporting to Nigeria. That is the story of space exploration. But the truth today is that we have Nigerians who are working at NASA. If they find the right leadership, they will walk into your office and say, this is how to explore space. But you have to understand that a man who doesn't even understand his village cannot understand the space. For them, the space is void. So, please, without reducing your request to nothing, the guy wants to go to space, my brother. Space exploration is huge for us. You know, we can sponsor as many students who go and get scholarship in Russia and the US, but we can also attract our brothers who are already there. So many of you used to work in unbelievable places. There are nuclear physicists. I met a Nigerian in London who said he's a tunnel engineer, and I'm asking myself, would you come home? Because the only tunnel people we have in Nigeria are people with tunnel vision. You know? So, solution is here with us. The discussions we are having tonight will become a historical conversation one day. I have a lady, our sister there, who wants to ask a quick question. I won't ignore you. Please, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Juliet Naro. I want to know what your plans are. In terms of,
can you repeat that?
Yes, I want to know what your message or your plans are in dealing with the resistance you're going to definitely face when you become the president.
Yes.
Yeah. You're going to meet people that have been in certain positions all these years, head of departments, that are used to doing things a certain way.
Yes.
Are you going to face the resistance you're going to face?
Yes.
Or you're going to... Yes, that's what you deal with it.
Yes. Thank you. Very, very important observation.
Yes.
My answer is that I have never done anything since I turned maybe 18 that has not met resistance. Yes. When I was a student at the University of Lagos, I was so resisted I got expelled twice from the University of Lagos. When I was out of the university and we were fighting democracy, I was so resisted I got detained 8 times before I came to the US. When I started a media concern here in the US, I was so resisted I was sued 4 times. And when I started running for office, I am so terribly resisted. I get tear gassed. I've been tear gassed twice. One at the police headquarters before I was tear gassed in the palace. Resistance will come, but for every act of oppression, there must be resistance. Principled resistance. The best form of resistance is next year's election. We will resist them, and we hope all of you will join us to resist the oppressive, very wicked, corrupt, Kabbalistic, rapacious political system.
So this will be a quick question, and it's the last question.
Yes.
Okay.
Take it back!
Take it back. Action! My question is, whatever the campaign, right, they never say anything about handicapped people, like disabled. What do you plan for those people when you become president?
Thank you.
Especially like that, for those handicapped.
Thank you.
I will answer first by saying that in Abuja, we are standing behind a handicapped lady who is going to the House of Reps.
All right.
Yes, yeah, she will get a form to run for free.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, on our part. Secondly, maybe it's inaccurate to claim that, to say that. In fact, one of the first set of people we met with when we started were handicapped Nigerians who usually hang out at the National Stadium in Sowore, Lagos. And the reason we went to them is that, interestingly in Nigeria, the only people that have ever won Olympic golds consistently in every Olympics are handicapped Nigerians.
Wow.
Yes. So we went to them and we spoke to them. Nobody cares about them. They don't even have disability access to public buildings. There is no bus in Nigeria that's driving around that a handicapped person can get on. Because there is no provision for them. And I said, we'll make all of this available. It will cost us money, but already some of them are even being done. Because there are over 10 to 20 million Nigerians who are, I don't call them handicapped.
Disabled.
We don't even call them disabled. They are physically challenged persons. I call them special population.
Yes.
Because if you say the word handicaps, you are insinuating that they are not doing anything. A lot of handicapped people are doing better than the so-called able-bodied people in Nigeria. So, and also that they are entitled, we have to have institutionalized social security support for special population in Nigeria, not handouts.
Yes.
So I said to them, and I'm repeating here, so that you know that I met them extensively, that at least for every 3 months, anybody that is physically challenged should be able to get 50,000 naira from the federal government every 3 months. But it will be part of our healthcare system for them. They register into the healthcare system and we verify, because Nigeria, the moment you say handicap and you are paying them, everybody.
I will get my slide. God,
There has to be proper verification of what constitutes. It's just like in America here, somebody will tell you that they are legally blind. It's a form of disability or challenge, but it doesn't mean that they can't see. But yet the government will be taking care of them specially. You have parking lots in this country, you dare not go to the parking lot of a handicapped person if you're not handicapped. But in Nigeria, we don't care about them. We make fun of our handicapped people. Our physically challenged people. So also the mindset of the public needs to change, because in our culture, physical disability is seen as a curse, or that it is because your father offended the gods. That's why you come out with certain. Whereas it is not so. And anybody, anything can happen to anybody. Anybody can suffer, handicap in their lifetime. The fact that you are born whole doesn't mean that something bad will not happen to you. And to be honest with you, a lot of Nigerians are in a state of disability. Politically, socially, economically, financially. Everybody is handicapped in a way or the other. So the whole country is a country of disabled people. It might sound funny to you, but that's the reality. So, but I told you what we do, but we can also continue to do better. The question you should ask me is, how are we going to pay for all of these things? Right? And we figured it out, is that, you see, our politicians are stealing $5 billion every year. Outright theft of public funds. A Sowore as president of Nigeria, or a AAC as a party running Nigeria, will stop that bleeding almost immediately. Because most of the corruption that is happening in Nigeria happens through opacity of how we conduct our businesses. For example, if I want to find out where your houses are, in this area. I can find it online. I just need to type in your address. In Nigeria, you cannot find who owns properties in Abuja or Lagos. You cannot find the name of contractors who are handling federal projects or any projects for that matter. When you dig, you find out that the chairman of the company that got a 5 billion or 10 billion naira contract is 9 years old. That is Nigeria for you. Our public officers or politicians don't declare their assets. What they do is they declare their assets in anticipation of what they will steal. That was what Saraki did in the asset declaration. He saw a building that he liked, he wrote the address in his, and he bought the building 3 years after he was governor of Kwara State. Several of those kind of things are what you find in the asset declaration. But what if we can have our politicians declare their assets the day they are sworn in and we make it public? So that somebody can look at it and say, this man says he has this property, he's not the owner, I know the owner. And you can start challenging them right there. And that's one of the things I will do as soon as I become a candidate, or as soon as I will declare my assets. There's nothing, I have nothing to declare but my intellect. So, yes, nothing. I will declare it so that the whole world will know that this is what Sowore has got. And if I then come back after I'm president for 4 years and I own the Third Mainland Bridge and tell that I have done something terrible to this treasury of the country, the moment we start doing things right in Nigeria, Nigeria will get it right. Yes. Because so many of the projects we need to do are budgeted for every year. There was a time we researched on Nigeria budget for 10 years. For every year, they repeated the same project for 10 years. Collected the money, disappear. What Fela used to call chop and clean mouth. Yes, but now they are so obnoxious. They chop now, they don't clean mouth. Because they chop, not they finish. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We are moving to Los Angeles tomorrow. If you have families over there, please let them come to our events. Let us come and have this kind of interaction we have here tonight. You know, what makes me feel good about this interaction is that through your eyes, I can see the future. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Take it back. Action. AAC. Take it back. Take it back. Action. Thank you. One more thing.
I'd like to call Brother Thomas, the person that allowed us to have this facility. And please don't forget to grab a t-shirt.
Grab your t-shirts. Thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Adele.
Okay.
Let me do it. Okay. It should be orderly. Okay.
What? Excuse me, can we have everybody's attention? Hello?
Go ahead, we're listening.
Thank you. So I said that there was a presentation by Mr. Kola Thomas. Please. This is Mr. Kola Thomas.
Show.
Time for grading, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to, on behalf of all the silence, please. On behalf of all the folks in Northern California, I just want to thank you all for coming through to City of Oakland. On behalf of the mayor, I just want to also appreciate our president to be very shortly coming to visit with us and honor us with his presence. A lot of people have spoken. I mean, I don't know what Sowore, what soap he used in bathing himself to come here. Because, you know, that at 11 o'clock, turnout.
Yeah, massive turnout.
Our folks will still be seated and not even wanting to leave.
And there's no music.
And there's no music. And only surviving on meat pie. I think it says a lot about our commitment and the reason why we want a better future. We did the same thing for Steve Ugba, and we prayed for safety for him. And at the end of the day, he's ended up as being the ambassador of Nigeria to Russia. California is very important, and of course, Sowore knows that already. And I just wanted to, on behalf of everybody, thank him for coming through. And a man always needs a belt around their belly. So on behalf of everybody here, here goes. Wow. Thank you. Take it back.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Don't give one to Sarakio.
Doctor, look here.
We have taken 3 steps aside. Let other people. You take your
Give me your phone. I'll take it with my phone. I can take it with
Thank you.
Can we please let him take a picture with our lady?
Lola and myself are talking and saying, you can do it, I can do it. Like getting people, getting them money.
I know. People don't mind, so I know that.
Thank you. Yes, I want to selfie. Francis,
Okay, yeah.
Get inside. Go on his left.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the before. All right.
He wants to take it.
I'll send it to her. 1, 2, 3.
We're shutting down the hall.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
You two need to show in the live broadcast.
No.
Why?
Yes.
I already showed you now. Take me out.
Doctor. Very okay.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, I'm presenting.
Mr. Shine Global, look here. Mr. Shine Global, let me see your face.